Right. Okay. Awesome. So, if you just want to like introduce yourself a bit, go over like what you do, what like music and stuff, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll keep it as purposely vague as possible. So my name's Saul, and I make music under the name Object Dash. I have done since 2021 when I was like 15. Anything within the realms of like punk or garage rock, like that kind of higher poppy sort of side of things. Doing that, and I also have this sort of acoustic emo side project I sort of recently called Macy, where basically I can just record emo demos with just an acoustic guitar and just not really do that kind of overarching urge to have like something like an album or an EP to make whatever. I can just write songs and just throw it out. But yeah, literally anything within the realms of that. Kind of put it all on my own label, Lamp Records. It was like just a kind of homemade CD type label. There's other artists and I put on shows around Glasgow as Tommy Knows the Gender. I think recently just been putting on shows in the sort of Glasgow DIY emo circuit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So, the first question that I had noted down, just because I think it's the thing I know the least about, is Yellow Lamp, because I know obviously it's your sort of your thing.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about like your actual music and stuff, but I just wanted to like go like sort of go over like how did Yellow Lamp come about? How did you sort of, because there's a lot of like little tiny labels. I say tiny labels. It feels wrong to call something like Uncaplastic tiny, but in
But
my
no,
head, but it is
yeah,
like a
totally.
small thing. So like how did Yellow Lamp kind of come about?
Uh, when I was like 14, 15, I got really into like Joy Division and New Order, and that kind of led into a lot of Factory records. Factory was the first label I ever saw and just thought, my little a record label was like a cool thing, and it's like a home for you and your friends to make music rather than this big officious business thing.
Hmm.
And then so that was the kind of initial thought where I thought, if I ever put out music, I can just do it under a label. It doesn't have to be anything official. I can just do it under a different name rather than have it be self-released. And then I started listening to this band from Glasgow called Pause. They're one of my favourite bands ever. Like they were a proper life-changing band for me. Um, and the frontman Philip Taylor had his own label called Cat Records, which was literally what Yo Lamp still is, just putting out tapes, dubbing them in your bedroom, and printing things out and making CDs and doing all that. And I thought I can do that. I can buy a handful of cassettes and just print out the artwork and dub them myself. And so I bought a cheap um, push cassette recorder and some band tools, and then got in touch with a band called Spooky Goose, who I don't even know if they're still about anymore, but they were really cool for how what people knew about them.
Hmm.
And I really liked, they had two EPs out at the time, and I was like, can I please put these out on a tape? And they were like, yeah, sure. And they were really patient to let a 15-year-old put out their records, but it was so sweet. And yeah, I got a taste for it after that. And then yeah, just doing the labels just helped me kind of make cool friends. I think the biggest one's a friend I have called Owen, who had a band called Maestro Collage. He's from New York. I fell in love with an album that band put out called New York, and I put that out. And Owen's been a friend for life, and we're working on other releases with him and stuff. But yeah, it's mainly been a vehicle just for my records, and occasionally I'll put some other stuff out. Definitely not. I'm a haunted house. Definitely not gonna happen. But no, got a few releases yet to announce, but definitely stepping back into more like putting out records for other people. And yeah, that's probably gonna be the big drive for this year. So yeah, that's the label.
Yeah. So to move into like your own music, because you've got a lot of music out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've done stuff as Object Ash. You've done stuff as very very recently put out the Macy demo.
Yeah.
So like the sort of first question, and I don't know if this is like a cheeky question or something like that, but
I'll go for it.
do you just record stuff and then like put it out, or do you have like a backlog of stuff that you've just never put out and you occasionally pull from, or is it like a kind of mix of the both, or
Oh, it's a mix of the both, definitely. It's the case of I will sit and make a record, and sometimes I might put it out the next day if I feel like it, or I can make a record and I can sit in it for ages and go, this is the time that I want to put this out. And it's very much so like, I could spend a whole night recording something and go, that sounds terrible, that sounds like shit, I'm not putting that out. And then it can suddenly go from that to just, this is really good actually, and I'd be happy to just put this out. I want to work more on, I think this year definitely I'm working more on like seriously sort of putting more time into something, because I'm proud of everything I put out, but I very much want to work on something that's like I can spend a whole year working on this and then just put it out there when there's like a year or something to it. I think the only record I've done that with Feel That Accident was Object Dash, where I set myself that as the challenge to make myself a record in a week, because I had all these ideas, and I ended up like the final version that's out now took about a year or so, probably a year and a half more, but really proud of that record just because even though it's only over 14 minutes long and over 10 songs, I'm very much so still like, that's just a year and a half's worth of draft basically. So but no, it's definitely a mix of both. Just if I'm happy with something, I will put it out, and then yeah, and as I say, there will be other times where I have stuff backlogged or song ideas where if I can't come up with lyrics, but I just see the urge to make something, I will just sort of do that. But yeah, definitely a mix of all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about like the sometimes you record something you think that's just awful, and then sometimes you will just put something out, because I've had this thing where I used to, when I was making like really shitty like electronic and hip hop music, I would just put stuff out all the time, and I would put out like 5 albums in a year. Whereas recently, other than like an ambient album I recorded last year and put out, I think last month, I haven't put much out because I suddenly got very self-conscious that what I was putting out was total garbage. And I'm now I'm finally at the point now where I'm like over halfway done recording an album that hopefully I want to put out by summer, and it's just been this massive backlog of lyrics that I've been writing for since even before I started I Am Haunted House as a project. So it's kind of that thing where sometimes you can get suddenly very self-conscious about what you're doing, then every once in a while, like I am right now, where I've had this kind of spurt in like of like creativity, every once in a while you just suddenly you're really enjoying everything you're doing and you want to get it out there. But absolutely. I'm still like self-conscious about things where I'm thinking, am I releasing too much stuff at once? Because obviously I put out Sawa Tape in December, and I'm thinking I can't put any singles out right now because I just put out this mixtape thing.
It's still the Sawa Tape era, man.
it's still this. I mean, I literally like a couple of weeks ago just put out the updated version of Sawa Tape because I realized half of the mixes that I put on that tape were the wrong mixes, and I didn't realize until after I put it out, and then I procrastinated fixing it. So it's one of those things where like you record a bunch of stuff and you think, like, I don't know if I should put this out, and then sometimes you'll record a bunch of stuff and you just like you really want to get it out there, and you seem just, like you seem like the kind of person that would just put it out, and I think that's great. And I'm the kind of person that's like very conscious of like, am I releasing too much stuff too close together, especially because I still haven't played any gigs, so I don't really have a following out there other than like my friends and stuff like that. So
that definitely happens to me, where it's like I need to play more shows. I'm bad at messaging people being like, can I play this show? Or like, or just asking venues or whatever. I'm very much so like, I just wait till I feel like putting on a show, and then I'll put myself on the go. But
Mm.
not that I wouldn't be happy doing shows where I'm not playing. It just ends up getting to the point where I'm just like, oh, I've not done a show in a while, and I
Yeah.
just put myself up. You know? Every time I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna like, contact loads of like promoters and venues, and then I don't. But you know, that's the drive this year as well. Just keep playing live as
Mm.
frequently as I can. So yeah, that's definitely it. But no, I'm totally the same. Where it's like how I spent long enough plugging the best records, and it usually, especially last year, where I had August Town, which was like the compilation of kind of the older sort of stuff that I wanted to put on streaming before I kind of just like kind of fell out of love with putting stuff on streaming
Yeah, I
because
feel that.
it's just a hellscape. But I was like I was kind of just like looking at the stuff I made when I first started doing Object Dash, and I was just like, I'm gonna just compile loads of it into probably the record I probably should have or probably would have wanted to make when I was like 15. So
Mm.
I just did it on that one record, and then Object Dash I've already been working on, and then I suddenly spent all night, and not long after that, records was kind of ready to be released. With an unplugged electric guitar linked up, and I recorded SR 100,
Mm.
which is the kind of acousticy solo mixtape that followed that. It was more like a kind of, I try to describe it as the kind of companion album to the Object, where it was just like, I remember, especially when I was making Object, I kind of had a hard time just generally with mental health.
Mm.
So, and so the 100 record was very much on me like getting to the point of sort of recovering from that. Like I was on sexual medication. I was actually doing trials, so it was kind of very much so the what happens after that. Like Object Dash, I very much see as a kind of concept records where I say about anxiety and depression and all the
Yeah.
horrible things. I can't even like word it like really artsy or really like pretentiously. It's just like being anxious and depressed.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And then following that was just this record that was just me myself just making a record because I felt the urge to make something. And then Record This came out of the last of the actually album came out of the urge uh to just make an album with my summer and to have that be the thing that I
Yeah.
do with my summer. Like the proper high school, let's form a band and coming of age, man. So I wanted to make a kind of coming of age record, and that kind of was it. And I was equally as proud of that as well. Then there was tons of stuff in between, and after that as well, we done singles, loads of singles last year, and then a live record, which was so much fun to do. So much fun. I sat on that for ages, and when I put it out on Christmas, I was just like, oh, yeah.
I
That was,
do
that was,
have
that was good for you.
I do have later on to talk about that live record because there is one aspect about it specifically that I find really interesting, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, cool.
One thing I did really want to ask about, I don't know if this is still your plan because I don't know if your plans change very often. Like my plans when it comes to projects change really often. Like this album I'm working on right now is basically a collection of songs, but at one point it was a concept album about birds, and before
Nice.
that it was an album about my grandmother, and it's changed so much over time to where now it's just a bunch of songs that are generally like have not a theme, but they have an emotional through line. But there was one project specifically I wanted to ask you about because I know you mentioned it on your Instagram story a little while ago, and it was you were planning on putting out 4 EPs throughout the year.
Yeah.
So is that like my question is, and I don't want this to sound because I hate using this band specifically as a comparison, but they are the one that comes to mind. Is this going to be like a Weezer season situation where it's one in each quarter, or is it like something like is there going to be like a through line between them, or is it just like 4 EPs you've had sitting around, or like what's sort of the plan behind that project?
Yeah. Kind of the idea was to do it in the 4 quarters, not like a Weezer. Oh, I'm gonna do a record every season thing. And again, Object Dash is always a mix of both those things. It's stuff I have lying around. I go, I'm gonna put this out this
Yeah.
year because feel like now's the time, or I could save stuff. A lot of time I save stuff for a certain time. I'm like, this would be good then.
Mm-hmm.
This would be really really good then. But no, it was literally just in case I didn't make an album this year, but I still had little bites of things to put out. Didn't put it together. Didn't make one weird compilation
Mm-hmm.
album or mixtape. And very much so was that. But excuse me, I did have it in my head like it's gonna look like the Weezer seasons. It's gonna very much so look like that. But I was actually thinking more. I was talking about this Sunday. Just this idea, and you kind of related it to like the data band and how that's kind of related. You know, I think that's a more comfortable example than the weird Weezer seasons of the year thing. But no, it's very much putting out at least one in each quarter, just so it feels like you have something to put out.
Yeah.
And for me, making an EP is good because an EP is something I could make in an evening. Like the one I put out, the one I put out yesterday for Valentine's, Cherish, was literally just I got my 8-track out, got a 57 to make my guitar, and a terrible vocal mic for my vocals. And then it actually turned out really good, and I just had some nice acoustic songs. Again, that was also I'm gonna keep going on about because it's the way it goes with Object Dash is just I just had lyrics and stuff and little kind of things lying around. I was like, I've not done stuff with any of this, and I think it would be quite nice. And I had the idea to do a record called Cherish, and I made like a lot of times as well. I made like record sleeves before I do albums just because I love coming up with the ideas for records as well. But I'm an absolute sucker for doing that. But so I had this and I was like, this would work as a Valentine's thing. And I guess that's the EP for this quarter. I have a 4-track acoustic demo as well that might be the next one. Yeah, I think I will keep doing that just because I guess I have the material and I guess it's like cool because it's like now it is winter and then it'll be spring, so it's like different frame of minds. Like, so cool, man.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about because you just recently put out the Macy demo. What was sort of was there like? Trying to figure out how to word this. Like, you put that out very intentionally as something separate from Object Ash while still being part of that whole Yellow Lamp umbrella. What was sort of the decision behind separating it from that Object Ash like discography type thing?
It came from watching like Ewan McCusker, their solo thing, and I was saying that live and just thought that was really cool. And like comeback season and just a lot of the sort of kind of emo people in the scene, sort of just emo kind of shoegazer sort of power poppy bands, all the kind of eclectic mix that you get when they all kind of did acoustic things. It felt a lot more tender, and it kind of coincided with me feeling a bit out of place playing at these gigs because even though it kind of Object Dash, especially me playing solo, would work on the bill. I eventually kind of started feeling like maybe I want to do something that is a bit more emo tinged because Object Dash started as that. Object Dash started as me loving like this is the same case as everyone's seen, but really getting into modern baseball when you become a teenager.
Yeah,
it really like happened to me. I became an absolute sucker for that, and Slaughter Beach Dog especially like, the spin-off that became the thing after Mobile Split Up became J.K. Bald's main project. Just listening to a lot of that and going, I would like to make something that's a bit like that. And then that also coincided with me discovering bands like Happening in the Past and Pavement and Oz and all these different things that when you become about 14, 15, you discover and you're like, I've never heard music like this. And it became a melting pot of that, but I did kind of start with the idea of making a bit sort of emo tinge, and it sort of went away from that, but I didn't lose my love for it.
Yeah.
And it basically just came, what if I just made a really moody acoustic emo record? Just came up with a few songs and they all kind of turned out really good, and I was like, I'm just going to put this out. I kind of put out with the plan of that motivated me to do in to put on a show where I debut Macy and do a little set at the beginning. So
Mm.
that's definitely in the pipeline. So yeah, definitely something sooner than later, hopefully. But no, yeah, kind of just started as I say with doing is a little out of place in the sort of guy license in Glasgow, depending on who I was playing with. So be like, I have something that I can sort of whip out and
Mm.
that sounds terrible. Something I could kind of just go, oh, I can do a set of
Yeah.
these songs in this material, and yeah, so just it could kind of work either way.
It is interesting, because it's not like unexpected for someone in the scene to be influenced by like scene musicians, comeback season, all that sort of stuff. But it is
Mm-hmm.
interesting because it's sort of like I have the sort of similar thing where my last band was like very much influenced by like hardcore and kind of noisy and metally type bands that weren't like scene bands. But by the
Mm-hmm.
time I started sort of wanting to do a solo project, it was like scene projects I was pulling from, like Blushless and I Envy Your Heart and
Mm-hmm.
all that sort of stuff. And then
Yeah,
I eventually brought in the outside influences, like a lot of the a lot of the like drum break stuff I do is taken from one specific song, and it's the original version of Not One Bit Ashamed by King Creosote. That was why I started doing like
fair enough.
drum
Fair
type
enough.
stuff. But like I said this to Nathaniel not that long ago. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if it wasn't for Blushless. So it is
Uh-huh.
like interesting getting that specific influence coming off of
Totally, totally,
projects
yeah.
that come from more outside type stuff. So yeah, I just think that kind of stuff is really interesting. I did my major project for uni was a documentary about the scene. It was more about trans people in the scene, but it was still
Nice.
about the scene.
Oh, cool,
So it's been
cool.
interesting, like talking to a lot of people. Like that's the thing. I mentioned it to Kira not long before we did her interview last month that
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this. None of this is monetized. I just do this because I really like talking to people about this stuff. I think it's really
Yeah,
interesting talking to
absolutely.
people about scene stuff. Anyway, so we mentioned that live album earlier. And
Yeah,
the thing that I wanted to talk about specifically is most of the people that I know, most of the bands that I know, they've all performed like within the UK or within Ireland and stuff like that. You
yeah,
specifically, you've this if I'm right, this was recorded in Spain, right?
yeah. This
Yeah.
was in Spain. Yeah,
So that I just find that really interesting because most of the people I know they've never gone outside the UK. They've performed in England, they've performed in parts of Ireland, a few of them anyway, mostly in Scotland and stuff like that. What was there like a sort of difference performing in another country like that?
it was a really weird environment because it was this. There's this songwriting camp in Spain that I've been to a couple of times. It was really interesting because they always have like an interesting guest. But the first one I went to, the guest was Tal Barat from the Libertines,
Mm,
which was really cool. And then this one was the guest was William Harrison from Mystery Jets, who's the coolest guy on the planet. And I'm very grateful now to know him and to send him things like the 4 track acoustic uh, EP demo thing that I mentioned earlier. Half the songs in that were co-written with Billy, and they're some of the best material I think I'll ever have. So I'm very grateful for that experience. So I went on that, but they're also like, if you're gonna go to this, there's this festival on at the weekend that you can buy tickets for, and you can play on the lineup. And I was like, yeah, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So I did that, and then so I played over the 2 days. So the first side of the record is me doing a solo set, and then the other side was last minute. I got two of the people who were there. I got this guy called Lawrence Monker, who's a really cool musician. He does loads of stuff. Like if we were to kind of from some dead empty gear till the end of the fucking year. Like genuinely he's a really, really cool guy. He's done loads of stuff. And the guy who's on drums was Sean, who's a good mate. He plays in a band called the Castros. He's the drummer for them, and he's an insanely good drummer. Like I kind of mentioned to him the night before the set. I was like, listen, do you want to just join this show last minute tomorrow and do? It was basically a cover set that we did, and it was really really fun. So I asked him. He just went. I actually asked him at first. I was like, because I thought drums would be too last minute. I was like, there was this cajon lying there, and I was like, do you want to play the cajon? And he was like, I'll play drums for you. I'm not playing a fucking cajon. It's the shittest instrument ever. I'm like, right, okay. I was like, great. That's the attitude, man. And then literally we were about to step on stage. He was like, send me a list of the songs. And then we were about to go on stage. He went, oh, I didn't look at any of the songs you sent me, but we'll be fine. And I was like, right, okay. And then he just went, Liz, do you want to join this? And he went, okay. And then we stepped on stage, and what you heard was the live record. What we heard was the second side of us, just literally 2 minutes before we got on stage. Not even 2 minutes, like literally 30 seconds. Like, Liz, do you want to play in Saul's band? Yeah, okay. And then that was the live record. Literally recorded it on my phone, just on the voice recorder. So it's very much so a bootleg. It's not remotely of any high caliber, but that second side where we did covered like Stooges and Ty Segall, and I think we did a Razorlight cover, and then ended it with Long Live the Demo, which is an Object Dash song, which I ended every show with. And that was that those 4 songs were the best that I've ever played. Just the coolest thing ever. Just playing with really cool people as well was a nice treat, especially when I think we're getting a well, I've got a drummer now for Object Dash, so I think we're just going to start playing as a two-piece. That'll be kind of more of the band setup. But no, to get to do that, which I hadn't done for a while since the really kind of earlier stages of Object Dash, was cool. And yeah, it made for a cool lesson afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what have I got here? Sorry.
No, you're good.
I know we've talked about sort of inspirations already, and it's one of those really generic questions you get when you interview musicians, like asking about their inspirations. I like asking this question though because I like specifically asking people for musical inspirations, because I see that Daniel Johnston poster behind you, but I also I love asking people about their inspirations, like stuff that's influenced their music and their writing that isn't specifically music, like film, books, fucking comics, games. Because like I don't write about it very often. I'm super influenced by the Dark Souls games, in terms of like tone, but not in terms of like the actual story. And when you listen to someone's music, you don't always hear the inspiration from stuff that they've like watched or played. You can hear the musical influence. So like,
absolutely.
So like, I just wanted to ask about inspirations. Like, you can talk about musical inspirations because that's still interesting, and I would still like to hear about that. But also like stuff outside of music would be interesting to hear about as well.
I'm trying to think, like, especially when I was starting into this. It's a weird one because like I was one of those kids who first saw Scott Pilgrim versus the World when he was like 7. So it was very much so that was like a big thing where it was just like, well, the first time I saw like a sort of garage rock band, and I sometimes think subconsciously that might have done it. That might have had a lot to answer for. Just yeah. That's definitely one of the things. It was like, for the people that there's the half that Scott Pilgrim's the whole personality, and there's the half that I actually can't stand it. I love it. I can't deny. I can't even be coy and be like.
I've got all my books in the wardrobe, and I've got my steel book of the movie and the other one as well. I can't judge.
Oh, hold on. See if I can find this. Yep, this is it. I got this shit from Japan because it's really rare over here. Someone literally charged me.
Oh wow!
Like 12 quid for that, and I think it goes for a couple of hundred elsewhere, and I'm like, thanks Japan. I just saw that and I was like, hell yeah, I'll take that. But I have Scott Pilgrim's the film I've bought the most. Again, like I have like I remember when they announced that he's going out in 4K, I just genuinely I'm doing backflips. I was on X Games mode. I was like, damn. And it's a really good remaster with a bit of it actually. But yeah, no, I think seeing that when I was really young, it was kind of like everything I hadn't liked or anything I was going to like, all in this kind of one thing, and it's an explosion of color and it's an explosion
Mm.
of just all that sort of stuff. Yeah, yeah. So that was very much kind of an early on thing. So I think very much so that is a sort of like thing. Films definitely an influence as well, and whether directly or indirectly. Uh, like some of my favorite films are like Frank, which is the one Michael Fassbender's in, by directed by Rowan Atkinson, which is based on Frank Sidebottom, except it's reimagined if if he was an American indie rock musician, and it's a really fun film, but also quite sad.
Mm.
But that was very much so a kind of inspiration because it was like I think just watching bands and films was a kind of thing that kept me sort of thinking, yeah, I want to be in a band. So
Mm.
that'd be really cool. I'm literally just thinking right now, like that's terrible. One of my favourite films involve a band one way or another. Benjamin, film directed by Simon Amstad. We watched that the other day. That's one of my favourite films, and involves a side plot about a band. Um, I think just I originally wanted to be a filmmaker,
Mm.
so I still kind of have the urge, but like music now is what takes up most of my time. But before that, it was just like, yeah, I want to do something in like film.
Yeah.
But now, but I guess it's just the kind of idea of doing something artsy as well. Yeah, and then just watching documentaries about bands and stuff is
Yeah.
really influential. Like I love taking from all different art forms, but it's terrible because I think it sort of influences things maybe more subconsciously than
Mm.
sort of knowingly. But no, definitely Trump's an influence. In terms of music, um, I think one of my biggest inspirations is Fleetwood Mac. I think I started listening to their records when I was like 13, and that was a very, very big thing. Like, I remember hearing the album with like Organ Fight and
Mm.
just thinking, just that's how you make an album, that's how you tell a story through a record. So whenever I make something, that's always in the back of my head.
Yeah.
Daniel Johnson, he has a
Yep.
lot to answer for. He has a lot to answer for, even though he's not with us.
That's
And
a big haunted house influence there.
yeah, oh, I think everyone is an
Oh
influence,
yeah.
definitely. It's just like Daniel Johnston then gave people the permission to just make records and not worry about how it sounds. Just the
Mm.
vocation of making something, and it's this guy who wanted to be a pop star, so he decided to be a pop star,
Yeah.
and and it happened. He was the original manifester. He honestly, I'm telling you, he's literally just this guy who was like, I want to be a pop star, and then
Mm.
became a pop star, and just did all these incredible things, and just had this sad but also really incredible life story.
Yeah.
Um, Such an influence, such like the sounds on his records as well through the whole of his discography are some of really loud. Like Despair Came Knocking is the first thing that comes to my head. Like
Mm.
that's just like a cheap ukulele with like mic'd up to like a cassette recorder, but it's this really like haunting sound, and I think
Yeah.
that kind of influences a lot of Object Dash as well, where it's like I think sometimes because I can't be bothered, I don't use pedals, especially not live. But I think I kind of developed the challenge of seeing how I can kind of make these sort of abstract or sort of bizarre sounds without pedals,
Mm.
if you know what I mean. Just
Yeah.
kind of trying to do it as naturally as possible because I think it's also a good brain workout. It's also a good thing. Yeah, Paws were a big influence. Paws were probably the first dance rock band or kind of power poppy sort of thing that I
Mm.
really became like obsessed with. They were like proper, like their records were just so infectious and so good, and I really, it was a big thing of I wanted to make music because of their records, and I wanted to make music that sounded like that, just punchy, infectious, really, really, really cool distortion sounds. Yeah, just stuff like that. I think that's the um, Jeff Rosen's top from the music
Yeah.
industry. Okay. really big influence in terms of tougher as a gender, like on gigs, because I try to charge no more than £10 a ticket for my gigs. And that's a very big thing because of him as well. He kind of just said, don't be ashamed of those ideas and don't
Mhm.
worry about it. Again, another big influence, Rick Rubin talking just in terms of like just the idea of making something
Oh,
slightly into it with a really
oh,
cool
sorry, I
record.
don't know what happened there.
Oh, oh,
Something cut out. I don't know if that was my end or your end.
something's infected the cables then. Um, but I'm not Jeff Rosenstock definitely just because he
Yeah.
kind of gave you the permission to just make a record and then he kind of just said, listen, you'll be able to persevere and get through to the end. 'Cause it's a hard graft making a record, but when you're
Mm.
done with it, you're so proud. And I think he kind of just sort of grew across that message of if you can push yourself to do something, you will be okay. And kind of just how frequently he put out his records kind of made you feel like sort of self conscious about that. But yeah, my favorite band ever are the Cribs. I love the Cribs. Everyone who meets me knows that within 5 minutes I stop talking about them and I don't shut up. Just again, I think your favorite band is always a mix of all the things you love in one.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah, big time.
yeah, and for me, the Cribs are the perfect mix of like sort of noughties indie rock
Mm.
mixed with the kind of beat happening style,
Yeah.
guitar solos and sort of dinosaur junior levels of fuzz and
Mm.
distortion and kind of bits and pieces of bands like Sonic Youth, kind of like long leg, sort of DK style out there
Mm.
sounds. But yeah, they're definitely a favorite band because of that, and also I think they've just gotten the best sounds that I've probably heard ever.
It's
For,
interesting.
for me,
I never thought about it until you said it there. But with you saying your favorite band is all your favorite is like all the things you love in one. I never thought about that because my favorite band is Bon Iver, and
fair enough.
they've done everything. They've done indie folk. They've done indie
Oh yeah,
rock. They've done like weird, glitchy like art pop, and I love that
yeah.
band to death. And
Oh yeah.
obviously, like the stuff I take the most influence from them is obviously like the indie folk type stuff, but they've
Uh-huh.
done so, like especially like their most recent albums, like from the past 10 years, are just their really weird, like experimental, like electronic soul pop stuff, and that's stuff that I
Uh-huh.
still love to hear.
Yeah,
But
totally.
I never thought about that until you said it, and that makes a lot of sense that your favorite band is like just your favorite things all in one. I had never considered that before. That's actually really interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, no, I totally think it's that. I think it's just for me, it's gonna sound so good the way I say this, the way I like it, but I believe in the idea of you have a favorite film and you have a
Mm,
favorite band and you have all these kind of things. It's just the way I am, but it's kind of the way I do things, and it's like um, I think when you know when you found your favorite band
mm,
because everything clicks in the right place, even if you can't word it properly, it's that, and that's kind of what happened uh, with the Cribs for me. It's just
mm.
everything I liked about a band in one. And yeah, they're definitely the band I've seen live the most as well. Just so cool. Yeah, anything in that sort of garage up here, you kind of country
Mm.
sort of food, I really really liked. And yeah, try to think about it. I actually try out in the scene. My Rushmore, just yeah.
I
I
love
just
my
love my
Rushmore.
Rushmore so much. My Rushmore is really just one of those bands that as soon as I started listening to, I just fell in love with her.
Yeah.
Like, it just hooked me right away. Um, such good tunes. Hey Lonely Planet, big
Yeah.
fan of them when they
R.I.P.
were about. R.I.P. When I was at their second last show, Houston, my last album launch. It was the only time I saw HLP.
I
Like,
only saw them
my
once as
God, my
well.
God, my God, they were a tour de force live.
I saw them
Unreal.
in Roots in Dundee, and to this day, they are the only band that I have ever two stepped to because they had
Fair enough. No,
insane
totally,
power. Um,
totally.
I was devastated I never got to see their last show, but I kept like
Oh yeah,
not last year before, and the year before that, I missed the Hunk of Plastic and Guideline anniversary shows, and I finally managed to go to them last year. Which I think
so jealous of you. Don't rub it in, please.
I can't lie. It was like one of the best experiences on the planet. I got my head like destroyed during Kaddish's set because I was right at the front and I got crowd surfed on like 3 times, one of which by Kira. I told her, hey, you should go up and stage dive, and I told her to do it, and she went to like jump, and I was like, yeah, do it, holding my hands up is like gonna catch her, and then somehow I just completely missed her, and her leg went right into my face, and that happened 3 times with like 3 different people, but it was still incredible. But yeah, no, Halo Lonely Planet, man, I miss Halo Lonely Planet.
Oh, it's so good. I'm gutted I didn't go to the one last year, especially when finding out we had like Hunk of Plastic did reissues of loads of tapes, and they were all just parodying Screamo, like very kind of emo sort of indie in that whatever flow, because it went from High Street parodied that first Lost Campesinos album cover, and then it went from like just that to just, I can't even remember all of them now, but I just remember finding out about that and just being like, hey, I wish I was there for the shows, because that would have been amazing. But I would have wasted my staying alone at the merch table on just a bit of everything. Like I went to the summer weekender that they did the Audioland Hunk of Plastic. Where I went the Friday or the Saturday, I can't remember what day it was, but it was the day the Dallas Cowboys were playing. Yeah. And I remember I think I generally spent 70 or 80 quid just buying records from the Hunk of Plastic box. I was just like, all right, okay, and I just came back with Crywank and kind of Alaska and Mage Tears records, and yeah, it's a dangerous game, but I do like coming back from stuff, especially when you're giving the money directly to the label into Hunk of Plastic. That was a big thing. But
I showed restraint at the merch table at the anniversary shows last year. I think the only thing I bought was a Kaddish t-shirt because I had to get one, but they had a lot of cool stuff. I think they did the parody tapes, and I think they had All My Life Needed, and I think it was the first Bring Me the Horizon album that they parodied on the cover. Wow. And there was one that I think was Chaos Is Me by Orchid, but I can't remember which band it was that they had done with it. And it was I was tempted for that one. They did a few that I wish I had got, but I just didn't have the money for it. I can't remember who it was, but it's annoying me.
I'm literally gonna look at it right now. I'm literally like gonna try and find it right now.
There was a load of really cool stuff. I want to keep buying tapes, but I just never have money. I think the most recent tape I got was Robert Dallas Gray, who was the guitarist for Life Without Buildings. He did nice. He did follows me on Instagram for some reason. I don't know. He's a lovely guy.
Oh wow.
He did an album last year called The Valum, which is really good. It's really good, like ambient guitar type stuff. And I bought the tape, and then I don't have it on me, but I did also buy the CD recently because it was Bandcamp Friday, and I was just buying stuff. But that was the last tape I bought. I mentioned this in so many conversations, and he keeps saying he'll get me it, and I believe him. But I bought a Mitsubishi Suicide tape off of Hunk of Plastic like nearly 2 years ago. And I still don't have it because Jake lives quite close to me. We both live in Kirkcaldy, so he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll just give it to you the next time I see you." And we both keep forgetting about it. So I'll get it eventually because that's another band that I love. I want to see them do more stuff. I love Mitsubishi Suicide.
I saw I just looked it up there. It was Clownzilla. Chaos Is Me.
Fuck. Yeah, I should have got that. I'm pissed off at myself.
I thought I'd have known. I'm a sucker for physical music. I think a lot of people missing out, but I'm an absolute sucker for it. So that would have given me the more motivation to try and go. But I remember after the weekend last year the Monday after I had the record this Update
Mm.
Dash album launch, and I kept just thinking in my head, like, this is the unofficial third night of the weekend, and I kind of kept that to myself. I was too scared to say it. I was like, this is the unofficial third day, guys. Only the elite get to go here.
I have with physical media, I'm at the point now where I don't use streaming much anymore. Like if I use streaming, it's Qobuz because I
Fair
don't
enough.
know. But I burn a lot of CDs, so I have a
Nice,
shit ton of
nice.
bootlegs and stuff. We were talking about the Hey Lonely Planet show. I took the hunk of plastic YouTube video for that. I downloaded it as an MP3 and I chopped it all up. So
Oh,
I have a
nice.
bootleg CD
Nice. That's
that
so good.
I called it Hey Lonely Planet Sucked. So I have that.
Oh, that's cool.
I've got a bunch of other stuff. Like I have Kira's album. I burned. I like every once in a while I'll just
What an
bring
album,
it.
by the way.
Fucking
Jetson Memory
fantastic,
Unit. Oh my god.
fantastic.
Holy, oh my
We
god.
did
So
that.
many words.
We did that interview last month specifically so that I could promo her album because I think she deserves
Rightly
it.
so. Rightly so. Such a good record.
It's great.
Right. I think I said this a million times at the album launch, and it's specifically why I got uh, Cherry on the bill to do a Tremona solo set, because it was all kind of stripped down
Mhm.
or sort of solo sets that I owe kind of knowing about the scene to Cherry, just because their old band I interviewed for a fanzine that ended up not going anywhere, sadly, but I kind of tried doing a fanzine. I had so many ideas, and then at the same time, as I said, I was making Rob of Dash, and it just kind of, with these things, just kind of went
Mhm.
nowhere. But then Jerry was like introduced me to Audio Lounge, and I'd kind of been aware of the scene, but Jerry
Yeah.
was like the motherfucker. He was just kind of you fit right in, and it felt very nice, and yeah, Chairman, what a band, isn't it? So cool.
Yeah.
So
Fucking
cool.
Charamon is awesome
Unreal.
because
Yeah,
like I don't know, they're just like the some of the best musicians that were in other bands are now in this one.
yeah.
Like Heather, Ice Shrink.
Mhm.
I shouldn't pick favorites, but Ice Shrink is like I fucking love that band.
Everyone has a
Um,
favorite in the scene, though. Everyone has that one that just kind of went and just went. There you
yeah,
go. That's
it
that's
was
one's your kind of thing.
it was originally Nice Chow because Nice Chow was what got me into the scene,
Fair enough.
and then I
That's
saw
very
Ice
good.
Rink. I saw Ice Rink for the first time, and I was like, this is like the best band ever. I bought their Winter Demos tape, and I listened to it every
Nice.
week for like half a year. It's phenomenal. Um, but yeah, Heather. Obviously, Kira does her own stuff, and then Cherry has she incredible person.
Yeah.
Matthew is just such a chill guy. I
What a
love,
guy Matthew
yeah,
is.
I
All of
love,
them are so cool.
yeah,
All of
they're
them are
just
so
like the
sweet.
coolest people.
Yeah, it is some kind of power pops and super great cherry Mona.
Mm,
They all work so well together. It's also cool. Said Madge trying nicer, but tons of like we could be here all day listing like favorite bands from the scenes. But it's bands you love to see it. That's
yeah,
it. You love to see it. But yeah, that was definitely uh, a big thing. Just kind of discovering the scene. Whoa. Trying to think if so many more. I can. But anything, because now, obviously now Kush is based here. Anything Kush Parametrics is just like anything, just genius. Like, was really happy to see him picking up Emin Fixture and now Westmore as well. Just, just so many cool things.
mm,
Um, like countless first talks. We had uh the first show of his Stonecore band Scratch Card on the bill
mm,
for the Optic Dash album launch, and yeah, just super talented musician, really nice guy as well.
yeah.
Like his label stuff up as well is so sick.
Love Snuff Puff.
Um, it's so cool. Yeah, just so many good people in the scene, so many cool things, and it came at a time when I just felt I really didn't. Like, it's so weird because, and this is not remotely an insult to anyone because everyone has their own bands and different ways of doing things. There are a lot of people who are kind of like we like playing shows in the scene and with other things. I'll play a show with anyone. I'll literally, I'll be in the midst of a set where it's like, a didgeridoo showcase or something. I'll play in the middle of that. I'll play any show, but it came at a time where I was like, I don't know where I will fit in, and then I kind of stepped back, and I'm like, feels like I can maybe gasp my way in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like I say we'll be here to the end of the day if we can't but yeah, just a really cool thing.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Right. So the last question I had down is just a general one, and I asked Kira this, and I think it ended up taking the interview from like 40 minutes to a full hour. So I'm gonna restrict a bit. Just generally, like, what have you been listening to recently? What's been popping for you?
I've been listening to a lot with Ash. I absolutely enjoy.
Ash represent.
I know, genuinely.
Ash is all around.
I know, it's genuinely like, okay, so it's the other thing, just like I said, I'm like, what if the day comes and I get to support Ash and it's Object Ash supporting Ash and it? That is too eerie, but I was like, fell in love with Ash kind of last year. I saw them opening for The Darkness, and I'd never listened to them before, but
I've heard of them. I don't think I've ever listened to them, but I know of them.
Oh, so good, like just. Been listening to a lot of funnily enough, a lot of early Weezer again. Been listening to it because the kind of same era as Ash and the same sort of sound, and listening to a lot of William Pinkerton. Yeah. That's gonna be involved in listening to a lot recently. Trying to think what else. I've been listening to a guy. I saw him this week at the Old Road. So there's a guy called Best Boy Richard. He's called a guy called Alec Deaton Smith, I think is how you pronounce his name. Really cool stuff. Like, he has an album called actually I forgot what it. I think it's called We'll Sink or Swim Together. Like he's an underrated guy from the midst of the Glasgow scenes. He's really cool. He did a set a few days ago in Glasgow where he mostly covered his favourite Jonathan Richman songs for Valentine's Day, and so cool, so really cool. He's the reason as well. I saw that and I was inspired to put a Jonathan Richman cover on the Cherish EP Valentine's. I was like, just want to do it, and how much I love that song, and I was like, yeah, I've got to do something with that. And what else have I been listening to recently? I'm trying to think. What I bought recently is I'm kind of just going to look at my Discogs because that's always, as I say, a good place to sort of gauge what you've been checking out. Again, it was a great mention of the Cribs that they put out in the album not long ago. So listening to that, that's really cool. Just the best songs they've come up with as well as of late. Really good. Listening to a lot of Frank Ocean as well.
Oh yeah.
Listening to a lot of Frank Ocean as well. I'm very late to the party.
On rotation here.
very late to the party with Frank Ocean, but just. I always such an eclectic mix.
I'm always sitting here thinking like, oh, I've been waiting so long for Frank Ocean to put an album out. I only started listening to him in like 2020, so there are people for like 4 years before I was who have been waiting for a new album, because it's been it'll be 10 years this year since Blonde came out. Still isn't out. Still hasn't put out a follow-out.
Exercising a lot of patience as well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm such a new gen man. Like, you've seen Cameron Winter. Like,
I mean, I got really into Geese last year, and Cameron Winter's solo album was really good.
It's so weird because I almost feel bad that I started listening to him when there's people who've been listening to Geese and Cameron Winter since like kind of like that first record and CD Country.
I had heard was it 2122 off of 3D Country a few years ago because it was on Mike the Snare's year-end list. Really good YouTuber.
Oh, wow.
I fucking love Mike the Snare. So I had heard that song and I thought, oh, this is really good. I should listen to this band. And then I never listened to them again until Getting Killed came out. It took me like
Fair enough.
two,
No, fair
three
enough.
years to eventually really get into them. But yeah, I think this is the second interview in a row I've done where it's ended up turning into a discussion about keys.
It happens just so good. But I think I read an article and it was like a journalist went to his concert for some background on the band. This was a long ago. This was probably just before or just after Gimp came out, and it's just like, how did you hear about Beats? And 90% of the answers which journalists got was just word of mouth, and that's it. People just keep telling you, we heard that new Beats record, it's so
Yeah.
good. And then I was at college one day and somebody in that college was like, where did Geese? I've heard them, not listened to them. I had a million people recommend them to me before, and I just sat one and was like, oh, this is quite good. This is quite good. I'm always wary of when a band suddenly becomes popular because I just think maybe I'm slightly difficult to please. But he's such a talent. It's such an incredible level of production on those records. Really sparse sounds, especially on that solo record. Like just the way the song on the special thing of was Love Takes Miles, where it's just where the drums and the guitar fade in. That's
Yeah.
such a neat little production technique. I think my favorite album of last year was Finn Wolfhard's solo album,
Oh yeah.
Happy Birthday, because he sounds a lot like that record sounds a lot like Guided by Voices, and it was all recorded on cassette 4-track.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's so cool.
I
Genuinely, love that record. So it's only like 24 minutes as well, but really really impressive levels of songwriting. I kind of oh sorry.
Sorry, I listened to way more albums last year than because usually I only listen to like a handful of albums that come out in a year. But last year I specifically, because I started writing for a blog and because specifically I wanted to listen to more music, I listened to like over 100 albums that came out last year, and I still missed so many. I missed a lot of like the biggest albums of the year because I was like digging into like what's like cool and obscure. Like I got really into Baz last year. I went to go see him live in Glasgow, and I think it's like one of my least liked Instagram posts was my Baz one because no one knows who the fuck Baz is, but he's this really cool like art pop type guy he's really gay, like his music's really gay, like art pop, and it's awesome. And I got really this isn't like an obscure one. I got really into Jason Isbell last year. This was my favorite album last year.
Fair enough.
So I listened to like a bunch of, but I still missed that Finn Wolfhard album. I didn't get around to the Joe album. Those two are always twinned in my head because they were both in Stranger Things. I didn't listen, like there was a bunch of albums I didn't get around to. I nearly didn't get around to the Geese one. I listened to it based purely on the fact that a bunch of people were like, you should listen to this, and I did. So I missed a ton of stuff from last year.
It's like people can be right sometimes and they're right in their Geese. Like people can be right sometimes and they're good. But no, totally. I've still not heard much detail, but what I have heard, I do quite like. Oddly as well, I actually should. Quite flexed. Wait to see Oasis last year.
All right, yeah.
There's been a load of Oasis bootleg vinyl.
Yeah.
And I just started collecting them. In a really, really weird turn of events. Like, I was always one of those people that liked Oasis. Like,
yeah.
I never like a mega fan of anything, but and I got a lot of people in Sunday. I get kind of caught up in the Oasis hype, and again, I just never really owned like Oasis records. But as soon as I saw the bootlegs of the live shows, I was like, I'm gonna pick up a few of these.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that. But yeah, I don't know if there's actually much else listening to it. Been listening to a bit of Slim as of late as well.
Yeah.
Love Swan, especially Spiderland. We've been listening mainly Spiderland, but yeah, I'm trying to think. Same people I can listen to a lot. Like I listen to a lot of Ty Segall. He's a really big influence as well. Like his records are so varied and weird. That's of psychedelia to just really kind of go Five Factory, like just rock and roll basically, and rock and roll in kind of its purest form of just sort of distorted guitars and just kind of a lot of fast drumming. But yeah, I'm trying to look. I think that kind of covers it for what I've been listening to lately. But yeah, like per usual, a mix of what I've already listened to mixed with new things you find. I mean, it's the same for anyone really, but
Yeah.
in trying to think about it, I think that's for the most part that's it.
Mhm. Awesome. Right. Okay. So that was about all I had. So, did you have anything that you were particularly wanting to talk about?
I'm trying to think actually if there's anything. Um, I have a new EP out. I've mentioned it a couple of
Yes.
times here. It's called Cherish, and I'm really proud of it. I'm not like everything that I'm proud of, but this is the one thing for the longest while I've been like, I'm really proud of this little collection of
Mm.
songs. I've been doing loads of like acoustic stuff lately, whether it is in Object Dash or it's the Macy. But yeah, if you want to check out the Macy demo, go for it. I just called it Winter Demos, just in a long line of
The
Winter
long
Demos they've
lineage
released
of
in this.
winter demos, Ice Rink, Countless Rooftops, all of them.
Everyone needs a winter demo tape. Everyone needs that. And if you want to listen to that, yeah, my I kind of took a sort of slight break from Insta up until recently because it was just doing my head in.
Hmm.
Like, as sad as the world is, and as much as I always try to advocate for people to just be happy and to just be able to live, you also need to take your mind off it when it gets
Yeah.
just too intense. So I've kind of got back into it now. But yeah, yeah, my Insta is at Saul Burnley Punk Art Garage Scene one word. If you want to see when I play shows, wherever I may play, I'm trying to plan a tour for this year of varied places.
Hmm.
So follow me, so you know when that sort of stuff happens. Buy my records on Bandcamp, buy my vinyl on Elastic Stage. Because luckily I'm in a position now where I have my records on vinyl and it's cool. And same thing anyone else will tell you, like putting out physical records or putting out stuff on Bandcamp benefits people more. So if you like some of that stuff, please put whatever you want and consider just doing that. Yeah, hopefully a new album out this year. Uh, yeah, fuck eyes, trans rights, free Palestine.
Awesome.
That's it.